Hey, hello. Hello, everyone. How do you feel? Good? Are you still alive? Yeah? Cool. So today we wanted to talk and to discuss actually about how corporates are working with startups and what kind of programs they're doing together. So as you know, there are different type of partnerships and cooperations. Let me introduce the list of possibilities, let's say. So there could be a corporate startup accelerator, for example, reverse pitching event. Reverse pitching, by the way, is when corporates are getting on the stage and pitching their problems to the startups. Corporate venture capital, hackathons, sponsorships, mentorships and distributions, and just become a customer. So I have a great panelists, and first of all, I would like actually to go through all of you and basically hear what exactly you are doing with startups, or if you are a startup, so what kind of cooperation you already had with a big company or corporate. So if you could share your programs with us and what you're doing, that would be great. So let's start from Neil.
Hi again. So I think hopefully you remember from 2 minutes ago my speech. But yeah, so we're just to recap, if anyone's just arrived, we are Tomorrow Street, which is Vodafone's global accelerator, a joint venture with the Luxembourg government. We focus on late stage startups, and we host them and we grow them through the Vodafone procurement company. So through procurement, we find those startups growth.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hello, Justas. I'm from Swedbank product unit called Group Cards. And yes, it's hard to represent all the bank because we're doing a lot of initiatives with the startups in many different angles, but I would like today to concentrate on my view and my department, what we are doing. So I'm working in merchant payment acceptance area. So, and our bank is running really kind of lot of in-house products and in-house systems. And if you know, Swedbank previously in Baltics was called Hansabankas, and in some famous days we were calling ourselves biggest IT company in Baltic states. We're having 2,000 employees in IT department doing stuff for us. So it's really, to say collaboration models, it's a lot of based on in-house stuff. But nevertheless, when all those units are competing and it's really hard to get resources to develop those great ideas which our businesses have. And I think here it goes with startups and what we need. And we have a lot of those collaboration differences, for example. Sometimes we see a problem in our market and we want to solve it. And sometimes those startups can come with their own ideas. So it's really many collaboration types are possible. So.
Yeah, and now let's ask our startups. So, what you guys were doing with big companies?
Okay, hello, my name is Andrius. I'm the shareholder of two quite big software development companies. Those companies develop software for usually big companies or startups. And also I'm the founder and investor in few startups, which I will talk about later, how we work with, for example, Swedbank. And also, I'm the shareholder of quite big e-commerce business. So that's shortly about me.
Yeah, but you didn't tell. So please explain. So what you guys were doing with, for example, with Swedbank? You mentioned that you're doing something with them.
Okay, so with Swedbank, we had two partnerships. One was, I think, about a year before. I was the CEO of Getshopin and the founder of Getshopin. I already sold that business. I was introduced as that business founder. But then we made a deal with Swedbank that they will try to sell our e-shops service for their customers. And we made a pilot, and it was quite successful. And from my opinion, what startups can gain from big corporates is sales. Because usually all the startups is about good products and they have struggles with sales. If you want to do sales fast, it's very expensive and the acquisition cost is usually very, very big. And when you are doing this with big corporates, you can move much faster because they have lots of clients who need something. You just need to indicate them, come to the corporate and say, guys, together we can solve that problem for your customer. And this is one way how you can attract much more customers and achieve fast growth. So it was one of our partnerships. And on second partnership, we are now, in this case, Swedbank came to us and said, okay, we had great partnership before. We know that you are good at developing software. And we have a problem. And we need a software to solve that problem. And we see a business case there. And maybe you are interested in doing this business or creating that business, that startup, because we can't move that fast. We don't have resources, we don't have budgets, but we have a problem and we want someone to solve.
So they don't have the budget for that?
No.
And you were doing for free?
Yes. we are doing it as our business, and we don't get any funding, nothing, but I think it's the best way, because when we're doing it as our business with our money and with our resources, then we can do whatever we want, however we want, as long as we are solving also Swedbank's problem. And that leads us to much better final product than I think it may have been if Swedbank was an investor or had control in this project. So now we are building, it's already launched, it's Payseto, it's a tool to send payment links by email, email payments, for example. And what we see as opportunity, as I mentioned before with Getshopin, usually big corporates are not only in Lithuania, they are working globally, or Baltics, for example. So for us is also a big opportunity to start not in one country or not try to start in worldwide with lots of money, but to start with all user base in Baltics, and then if it's successful, we can very easily expand to Scandinavia, Nordics, and etc. So that's our experience, and that's what we're doing.
Thank you very much, Justinas. Now, please
Right.
tell your story.
All right, so I manage Finpass, and Finpass is a member of Credit Info Sandbox. So basically, how does Credit Info help us, right? As a startup, we are good at developing our product. That's basically it, right? Where we need help is legal stuff, marketing, even office space. So all these amenities are provided by Credit Info to us. And additionally, obviously the main benefit is client pipeline. For us, one of our main products is remote identification. And as you know, all financial institutions have to onboard their clients. So Credit Info already has established relationships with most of financial institutions that operate here. So basically we get the whole pipeline, and it's up to us, obviously, then to promote our product and sell it. But the idea is that, I mean, partnering with a bigger company for us brought a lot of benefits, basically. Yeah, just cutting short through the things that we are not good at, and basically doing what we're doing best.
Okay, so I totally understand the benefits for the startups, right? So because it's really cool when you can work with a big company, which in most cases have the budget, and who can become your clients. And but how is from the corporate perspective? And the question would be for both of you guys, Neil and Justas. So is it? So does it mean that, for example, big corporates are so, let's say, slow or cannot progress so fast as startups do, and because of you guys are afraid of losing business, and that's why you're choosing to work with startups, or is there another kind of reason why you chosen to collaborate with them?
I would say bank is really not slow. We have a lot of motivated and passionate and
So why then you're
enthusiastic
not
people,
creating?
But I would say all of them are busy with another more prioritative tasks. And for example, banks are very heavily relying in, if you would look on our development agenda, it's full of some compliance stuff and implementing some compliance things. And we are totally lacking to issue some new great business value to clients. And that's, I think, nowadays reality with regulation hits quite heavily with banks. Another point which I want to take regarding this open market approach, that actually to develop the market better, we need actually from the merchant acceptance business, which we are running for last maybe 15 years in Baltic states, our department, where I'm working 30 people in the Baltics. We observe that it's always harmful to work with one supplier and even fund it one supplier, because at the end, in the beginning, it seems like, yes, it's a good idea, we will invest and we will run for next 10 years. Sorry, but this is not gonna happen. Your product most probably will run for the next 2 or 3 years when all environment will change and you will need to adopt once and once again. And our Swedbank point of view is that we would need actually to have an open market facility, kind of open market strategy, that if you have some area in the future, we would like to have more suppliers coming and solving similar problems and competing and increasing the value in the best way what we can do. So now to select one partner is just to ignite something and to start something, but it's not the way forward, what we think.
Neil, maybe you can add
Yeah,
something?
good question. So, so I started my career actually in a very different industry. So I worked in whiskey for 10 years, big whiskey company. And in a way, like the product always stays the same, right? It has for maybe hundreds, thousands of years, right? People will buy alcohol for certain reasons. So I worked in innovation in that environment. So it's interesting because you're always innovating in packaging and sometimes in the mix of the drink, etc. But fundamentally, the industry doesn't really change that much. Now in telco, when I first started in telco, I mean, the speed of change is incredible. So if you think about back to maybe 2004, 2005, telco companies, they made so much money from SMSs, right? That was a massive source of revenue. Along came WhatsApp, then along came Skype, which decimated the voice business. So there's a real imperative that you have to change or die in an industry like telco because it moves so fast. We recognized we've been working with very big suppliers, many names that you'll all know, but we realized that the innovation that we need is coming from smaller companies, from startups. So that's really the imperative for us. It's like, okay, we buy, we don't make. We do some software development, but not so much. Our focus is we have this highly developed procurement company that I mentioned that's very effective at buying products and introducing them. So that was our decision. Okay, well, we focus on working with those late stage startups in a fair way, and that will help us revolutionize our business for this digital revolution that we're in the middle of.
I know that talking with corporates are quite hard, and actually it's not so easy to engage and to cooperate with big companies because of complexity, because of hierarchy, because of different kind of approvals you need to get, and so on, and different requirements for you. So guys, from your perspective, when you were like dealing or talking with, in your case with Credit Info, in your case with Swedbank, so what kind of biggest issues you had during this, let's say, process when you introduced yourself or when you started the conversation with them? So what kind of biggest issues you faced, and what was that? And maybe have some even suggestions how those corporates or big companies could solve that.
Well, from my part, what I can say, I don't think that there were any issues, because the idea is that you have to come prepared, and arguments when partnerships. I think issues arise if you come to the corporate and you don't have answers that they can ask you. I think that is the main point. You have to understand how they work and how the decisions are made on their side. I think that's what's important. If you understand that, I guess It's much easier.
Yeah, I could agree because from my side was quite the same. It was very easy. And I believe that the reason of that was that I was communicating with Justas. Justas is very, very progressive. And
So are you saying that each company who wants to collaborate with startups should hire Justas?
I think all startups should get his contacts and try to contact him. But from my side, I think the main reason is that you should have results. If you have results, if you have something to show, if you have happy customers or working software with revenues, etc., then you can go, and they are very open. The talks are very easy, and usually the decisions are quite fast.
So guys, tips and tricks for those startups who wants to come and pitch their ideas to you because they believe that their product could be used somewhere in your company or for your customers. So what would you kind of recommend, or what kind of tips and tricks you could say to them?
I think it works both ways. It's research, talk, and listen. It's pretty simple because very often the corporates are not really listening to the startups or vice versa. And it's like any relationship. If you go to a party and you get stuck for 10 minutes in the kitchen, someone just talks for 10 minutes about themselves. You don't want to be there for much longer, right? You want to have that meaningful exchange. So I think if you're a startup going into a corporate, really research the people that you're meeting. And it's okay to just speak to them beforehand and say, can you help me? We have 20 minutes. I want to make sure it's valuable for you. So what are you really interested in hearing? So just having that open conversation.
Yeah, Justas.
Yeah, I think that more to discuss and to understand each other is the essence, actually. There is a lot of startups coming and asking, I have an idea, but those ideas, when you're mapping to your world inside the corporate, you see that they are unrealistic, hardly implemented, and so you need to always talk as much as possible and be open. And at the end, I would say, don't afraid to get from the bank answer no. Sometimes we're saying no because we see some things which, let's say, lacking on the startup side, even its competences sometimes, even market understanding, even some contracts not in place and whatsoever. But my recommendation was never give up, because you will fall down with one project, but it happened maybe a couple of times. You know that guy, you know that competence, and if you have next issue in your agenda in the next 6 months, you can easily call to that guy and say, look, come again, and we have second project. That's, I think, that approach, that never give up, and even getting no for the first time. Yeah.
Thank you. So never give up, try, and the doors will open for you. So thank you very much, panelists, and thank you for listening.